Wait, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have to
the
think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires.
I think, Mr. Zeldin, if your children were drinking water, if your children were drinking water in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you need the money for a tax cut for rich people because you're totally beholden to the oil industry. You could give a rat's ass about how much cancer your agency causes.
Adam Schiff launched into one of the longest, most dramatic tirades of his career. He painted a picture of doom, disaster, cancer, poisoned air, poisoned water, and an EPA supposedly on the brink of collapse. Every sentence became more emotional than the last, his voice tightening, his eyes flickering with frustration as he delivered a fiery monologue filled with accusations, predictions of mass sickness, and sweeping claims of environmental catastrophe. But then it happened. Lee Zeldin leaned forward, calm, steady, unimpressed, and with just a few words, he shattered Schiff's entire dramatic performance. Schiff came in swinging, but Zeldin's hit landed harder. One line broke the internet instantly. With that wind-up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why, Zeldin said. It was the moment Schiff's entire demeanor cracked, the moment his eyes widened, the moment he nearly burst into tears, and the moment Zeldin flipped the entire hearing upside down in real time.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Zeldin, you've only been at the EPA for a few months. But in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest,
And are
you have the
you-
biggest
are you-
state, so we're
and
going
are
to have to
you-
go through every single list of the grant.
Well,
by the way, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You've forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have
after
to think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin,
wildfires.
I think, Mr.
President,
Zeldin,
when I was
if
in San Diego,
your children were
with the
drinking
Tijuana
water,
River sewage crisis,
if your
apparently we're
children
going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you
gentleman's
need
time has
because
expired.
you
Never said
need
that. The whole
the
thing,
money for a
everything
tax
you
cut
said,
for rich people
your time. It's all
because
make-believe.
you're totally beholden to the oil industry.
The
You could
gentleman's time-
you could give a rat's ass about how much
It's
cancer
because
your
people
agency
you're trying to
causes.
destroy.
The
Impeach,
gentleman's
resist.
time has expired.
When the dust settled, the hearing exposed something far deeper than a policy disagreement. Adam Schiff arrived armed with emotional theatrics, sweeping accusations, and a script crafted to portray himself as the heroic defender of the environment. But the moment Lee Zeldin calmly pushed back, Schiff's entire performance unraveled. His voice shook, his frustration poured through every sentence, and his arguments leaned more on drama than on data. Instead of presenting clear evidence, he relied on fear, painting apocalyptic images of poisoned air, poisoned water, and widespread cancer simply to score political points. But the greatest reveal was not in what Schiff said, it was in how he reacted once his narrative collapsed. The second Zeldin delivered that sharp, unforgettable one-liner, Schiff's composure shattered, his emotional tone surged, his accusations became personal, and his desperation to regain control was visible to everyone watching. It became obvious that Schiff was less concerned about the truth and more concerned about protecting the dramatic storyline he had built for himself. In that moment, the country saw the real contrast. Zeldin stood steady, factual, and unshaken, while Schiff spiraled into outrage and exaggeration. Schiff's meltdown did not strengthen his argument, it exposed it. His inability to handle pushback, his reliance on emotion over evidence, and his immediate descent into personal attacks revealed why so many Americans have grown skeptical of his credibility. This hearing did not highlight a champion of public health, it highlighted a politician who depends on theatrics, panic, and exaggeration whenever the facts do not serve his narrative.